Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to the pilot of the After Action Report. What's going on, guys? Marty here, and I have a little echo. So I am going to have to figure that out. That's why we're having a pilot. Anyway, so what are we doing here? What is this After Action Report? This After Action Report is all about tying up the end of the day because every day in the game of life after sports is like a round. It's like a round of Rainbow Six Siege to me. That's how I really treat it. Like there's got to be this prep phase, there's an after action phase, and then there's an after action report. So I realized I was getting to the end of the day and I wasn't really tying up things just right. And I've also been trying to figure out what in the heck I'm going to do with the podcast. And if you guys will just give me a minute right here, let me make sure that the echo is not still going on because I definitely don't want that. Give me just a second. Checking it right now. Live action. You guys will just give me a minute right here. Let me make sure that the echo is not still going on. All right, so it looks like we're all good. I was just listening to that live stream right there. All seems to be going well here. So, the after action report. So, I had a few things that I wanted to talk about today and let you guys know what I've been up to, what I've been doing. I've been posting these 5-minute pieces that I've been doing on Facebook, but I got to tell you, I don't think Facebook likes me too much. But I know my podcast listeners love me. So I I have these aspirations for what this after action report is going to be, and I'm excited to tell you about it, but I have to tell you the story behind it first. And if for those of you who are listening right now, I'm wearing my patch that Jim Edwards gave me that says, "Warning, I will more than likely offend you at some point." It's been my favorite hat ever since he gave it to me. And it might just be a silly patch to some people, but to me, it's a reminder. Just like this beard is a reminder, and another story on that in just a little bit. Like this is the first after action report, so I'm gonna be spilling it all out there. Like this is the purge. Like I talk about the purge in my course, Re-Awaken Your Competitive Spirit, on how that's part of your journey. Like the best thing you can do as a former athlete who's playing the game of entrepreneurship is to tell your story. Like just tell your story. So the first part of that is like the purge. You have to like dump all your stuff out there, and sometimes it's really tough, and sometimes you run into stuff where ooh, that emotion, like that was fairly strong. I mean, that does mean something's there, but are you ready to publish and tell your story about it yet? I don't know. It depends on if you have it resolved or not, because if you're unable to control yourself and you talk about it, it might not be the best time because like uh I just don't think it goes over well whenever I cry on camera. I'm just going to say, like I have an ugly cry. But all the same, uh, here we go. So it's time to fess up again. Like I've been sort of notorious in the past for using my podcast to sort of do a confessional. Like sometimes, so I wouldn't say in poor taste, but I would say that I have made some excuses, let's say, and I always end up calling myself out on my own excuses. Like it's a good thing. Like especially as you're going through the purge, you're gonna tell all your stories. You're not going to want to because it's like, oh, I don't want to call out this person, or oh, I don't want to blame it on this thing. Whenever deep down inside, you know it's you. Like you always arrive at you. So, but that's something to go through here, and I'm finally ready to tell this story. And it was one of those things to where I needed a lot of process time. So I got this patch back in November. we being my wife Amanda and I, Setsy She Squatch herself, um, went on the Jim boat cruise. We went on a Caribbean vacation with Jim Edwards and learned all about how to use the power of words to sell anything, get more fans, more subscribers, more of this, that, and the other. Like more of anything you want. How to utilize the power of words. How to effectively get your message out there to the right person in a way that gets them to take action. And so I have to backtrack a little bit. This is where my Twitch streaming career began, actually. There I was. I had just sustained an ACL injury, and just like that, my second shot at having a professional athletic career, even though I was fighting on the amateur level, was gone. Like I had aspirations of being a pro mixed martial arts fighter, and then I found myself with an ACL injury 2 fights into my amateur career, and there are a ton of reasons that I decided not to continue on, but it was mostly a business decision and understanding that I had a different purpose. And man, it took me a long time to get over that. And it wasn't until a recent event where I was like, you know what? Yeah, like for sure, I'm done. Like I don't want to anymore. I did what I needed to do, but I'm finally at peace with it, which is what this is all about. Because I was not at peace for a very, very long time. But one of the things that was amazing to help me, it's one of the things that I got started with, and that was my Twitch stream. That was streaming, like, I don't even want to be vague. It was about streaming Rainbow Six Siege. And that game in particular, like, I have some emotional connection to it in the sense of one of my granddads used to call me Quick Six back in the day, and then there's this game called Rainbow Six that came out, and of course it's from a Tom Clancy novel. But long story short, it was one of those things I've always gravitated to because of that, and just because of the concept, like the best in the world, the best of the best, coming together as a team and working as a singular mission. That concept has always been so cool for me. And then it's just the ultimate good versus evil, you know? So I started streaming Rainbow Six Siege. I was playing Rainbow Six Siege before I got hurt. But I started streaming initially just to distract myself, to take my mind off of the pain, because good God, that there are worse things that could happen for sure, but the pain, like it hurt, and it hurt bad, and it was the only thing that could really distract me. And I did not want to get hooked on painkillers. Like I was not going to be that person. I knew I had an addictive personality. I had my stints with alcohol and dipping tobacco too, among among other things. I guess it's just like it's what I do. Whenever I geek out on something, I geek out on it. I go all in. Like so. Basically, that was leading me nowhere, because all I could really do, like I was doing great whenever I was telling my stories, but like I never could sell. I didn't want to feel like a sleazy salesman or anything like that either. So, and I just didn't flat out know how to ask for money at the end of the day, and uh, I was just awful at it. And before I knew it, I was streaming like so many hours, because I was looking around. I was like, that's what all the other streamers would do. Like I was seeing the most successful streamers streaming for like 15 hours a day. So I was like, I'll stream for 15 hours a day. And slowly that chipped away at my physical health as I was trying to rehab from the ACL surgery. Because don't get me wrong, after that, I was wanting to get back and be the best that I possibly could be from a physical conditioning standpoint, because I've been 100 pounds overweight before. That was even before I had gotten into the mixed martial arts career, and the reason I lost the 100 pounds was to get into it, and yet again, gone. So this is how I fell in love with Rainbow Six Siege. I played it back during the beta and everything on the Xbox, and eventually along the way I ended up switching from Xbox to PC, and that was, it was part, like all of my friends were like, oh, that'd be so hard to do. I could never do that. So of course I had to figure out how to do it. And then the other part of me was like, at a certain point in time, Ubisoft essentially said, hey, it's like, if you want the best Rainbow Six Siege possible, get on PC, because the console versions are always going to be a second-rate version. So I was like, crap. So I had to learn how to use mouse and keyboard. So that actually got me on the computer, though, and it got me working and actually doing the right things to move the business forward, so I could, make the money, so I could have the comfort to do things like train who I wanted to, as a personal trainer and counselor. I could play as much as I wanted to. I could get my wife home from a 9 to 5 job, and just be able to have the freedom and flexibility to do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. Because quickly it was like, I left being a school teacher, and then I was an MMA fighter, which was my great plan, and I was of course going to be UFC champ. And then whenever that plan didn't work, I quickly found myself in this spot where it's like, hey dude, you're playing video games all day long, not making any money. And I felt like the biggest chump, the biggest loser, the biggest everything there was to feel. Luckily for me, I got some good folks on my side, and I was pointed in the direction of Jim Edwards, and I was allowed to use the funnel script software that comes up with all the stuff. Like, before I even knew how to use it, it was like having access to this race car and I didn't even know how to drive, because I was just so inept at knowing what to say or how to say it. So next thing I knew, one thing led to another, and I had invested in the 2Com Club X coaching program by Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels, and spent 2 amazing years in there learning everything I could, soaking it up like a sponge. And I got to where I was implementing it every day and figured out how that fit into the routine of life along with everything else. But I was having trouble still, like, knowing what words to say, because I got the strategies. I saw how they came in through the top of the funnel, and then you gave them content, and by the end of it, money was supposed to pop out even without you having to sell face to face. It's kind of like having your best salesman, you, telling your story, being a salesperson for you 24/7, even if you wake up and you don't feel great. Even if you wake up and you're like, I'm going to spend all day working on me physically, because I had to do a lot of those days, and I still do a lot of those days. But there are certain fundamentals to put in, and one of those fundamentals is getting your message out there. And yes, it is that important. So I was having a really tough time, right? And Jim came in and did a master class for us in the 2Com Club Ed's coaching group called Copywriting Secrets. And it was amazing. And it was the material that ended up becoming this book. But it was literally that thing that I was like, man, I have to understand how to do this, because it took me a long time to accept this too. It's like I'm a better writer as far as organizing the things that I need to say in that regard, instead of coming up and just bleh into the microphone. It's like, it does take a few seconds, minutes. It was hours, now it's minutes, to kind of just get my thoughts organized and in a pattern. And after seeing pattern after pattern after pattern, I'm beginning to recognize these things. So I was kind of feeling all over the place. I was trying a little bit of everything, and nothing was working. So I was trying to do everything, literally, like trying to train people, trying to sell my stuff online. I was trying to figure out how to make Rainbow Sits work with this, and I was, trying to figure out how I could be the best coach at my gym and create content for that, and just do, like, what did I need to do to create win-win-wins for everyone and not die in the process? Because there were times where I stopped taking care of myself, even as a health coach, because and it was in the name of helping everybody else be healthy, but yet there were certain times where I couldn't even take care of myself, and that made me feel, again, like a loser, like a chump. Like, why would anybody want to listen to you, man? Because I thought back to whenever I was 100 pounds overweight, and like, I just knew that people weren't giving me the time of day because of my size, because I was overweight, because I was obese and not in control of my biology, and I never wanted to feel that way again. But yet here we were, whenever I was first recovering from the knee surgery, and then about 6 months in, whenever I just stopped. I stopped taking care of myself, and it was that way for a little while. And so all of a sudden, Rainbow Sits itself became not a constructive habit for me anymore. Like, I do say and believe that there is a certain amount of it that really helps dig into things. It helps me think outside the box. It exercises my brain in a very specific way, that leads to more creativity. And I also think it's an amazing place to come and talk to you guys and just hang out online, because I got to tell you, because of all those reasons I mentioned, I struggle with sitting down for long periods of time. I struggle with excessive screen time as well, because it just is not good for certain things. Like, I just recently had a concussion, so that doesn't help. Like, screens don't help at all. And plus, just with sleep patterns in general, I have to watch exactly when I'm on the screen and how much I'm on. Otherwise, I cannot deliver content to you and my clients that I train in person as effectively. So, but back to what I was saying, it became this thing to where I stopped playing for you guys. I started playing for me. And I was in the spot where I was working on myself, because I needed to work on myself. I really needed to. I needed to take some time to let myself heal, not only from the physical injuries that I had, but the mental, emotional, and spiritual injuries that happened as a result of the athletic career coming to a close again. They were the same reasons that caused me to actually gain the 100 pounds in the first place, because crap, So, never wanted to go through this again, but I knew that Rainbow Sits was part of the mission. So I found myself on the gym boat with Jim Edwards, and he's, if you're going to hear me talk about Jim a lot because he means this much to me. We're on the gym boat, and he was like, and this guy went from broke and living in a trailer park to internet multimillionaire, 8-figure award-winning best-selling author, and he like travels all over the place and pretty much does what he wants to, when he wants to, how he wants to. And I'm like, I need to know what that guy knows. So I started following him, but it wasn't before. And again, I was in this spot to where I was frustrated. Like, I was so afraid. I was trying to... It's just like a cage fight. Everybody goes into a cage fight afraid, but you put on the mean face, or you put on the I don't care face, or you put on the jokester face. You put on any face except the one that says I'm scared. And so whenever you do that for a while, sometimes it manifests itself in anger and rage. And I was very angry and raging on the fact that I could not make any money online. I couldn't make it as a streamer. I couldn't make it as an MMA fighter. I couldn't, and it was just all these excuses, all this whining, really. And then for somehow one day I caught Jim on a Facebook Live, and basically he's like, I don't care how good you think you are, because in my mind at the time I was the most amazing health coach on the planet. Like, I knew more than anyone. It was, I was trying to figure out how to be confident too, but I was also arrogant at the time. He's like, I don't care how good you think you are. You're going out there, and he's almost like he's saying my name and slapping me at the same time. It's like, Marty, I don't care how good you think you are, because I was like, look at these certifications. Look at what I'm doing for me. Look at how hard I've been working. Look at blah 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 blah. And it was like I was leading with the right stuff. I wasn't leading with talking to you guys. So he was like, before you know it, you'll be forced to say, do you want fries with that again? And it's like, and to me that was like saying, you'll be back teaching school, as in like like dealing with seventh grade punks again, if unless you get it together here. Your little dream don't mean nothing unless you know how to sell and how you use the power words. And I was pissed, you know. And I actually had access to funnel scripts at this time, through uh, my friend JD, who pretty much was like, hey, figure this out. So I was like, okay, I'll try. And I didn't try for a very long time, but eventually it dawned on me. It's like, hey, writing is the thing that you're going to do. So had Jim not upset me, and had Jim not upset me, I would have never gone back to listen to him to be like, I hate you more, Jim. I wouldn't I wouldn't have gone back to listen to what he had to say. And over time, I began to realize, it's like, this dude is awesome. And then that's whenever the masterclass really took it over the top for me. And it gave me hope again. It made me feel like, if I can just articulate what it is in a way that gets people to come on board, jump into my tribe, and be like, Marty, help me with balancing my health with the game of life. Help me thrive as a former athlete in the game of life. And like, it doesn't even have to be like a quote unquote real sport, you know? Like, I'm talking esports, because I know how that is too. I had my aspirations as a professional gamer, and whenever it was over, and I was like, God, you know, that was one of those, like, I shoulda whenever I was back in college, but had I not gone to college, I wouldn't have met my lovely wife, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. Miss Setsy She Squatch herself. I know she'll probably listen to this one day. So, but I got so angry because I was so scared that he was right. So eventually I found myself on this boat, and I found myself on the island of St. Thomas with him. And he was telling me the story. He was like, there I was, broke in the trailer park. And, you know, it's kind of how he starts off a lot of his stories. And he was like, I was playing Counter-Strike. And it's not like I was playing like all day. It was like I was playing 2 or 3 hours. And it was like, guess how long I was playing to myself at the time? About 2 or 3 hours. So maybe a little less at that point. I was winging myself off of playing for me. And again, I was so scared to cut on the camera because I had somehow become ashamed of it, because other people were like, you should be ashamed for video games. And there was like, back whenever I was younger, I would have been like, fuck you, man. But now I kind of like had some humility. So now I'm like, okay, screw off. You're not for me. You know, I had to learn how to do that, you know. So anyway, he was like, a thought occurred to me. He's like, I could keep playing Counter Strike and stay broke, or I could stop playing Counter Strike until I made at least $100,000, and then I could play as much as I wanted to, because that was my number. And I was like, I'm picking up what you're putting down, Jim. So I came back. I started playing Siege. I played Siege for about 2 or 3 more days. And eventually it hit me about mid round. It was right whenever Operation Shifting Tides of all thing came. I was like, we went on a cruise. We came back. It was Operation Shifting Tides. And then I remember I was playing as Wamai in the theme park rework, checking that out too. And I was like, dude, just go and figure out how to do this. Like, just do what you must do to make that $100,000. So I uninstalled Siege, and that lasted for about 6 to 8 weeks, and I reinstalled it whenever the Sits Invitational was coming up, and I felt so awful about it, and I was just complaining about it all the time. Eventually, my wife was like, why don't you just reinstall it? You're not going to hurt anything. I love her. She enables me so much. But, and honestly, I just wanted it to get some of those cool Sits Invitational skins, which shows you the power of, like, just these skins and outfits and the significance of everything. Something like a patch, you know? Anyway. So, I played it for about 8-9 minutes whenever I downloaded it in Terrorist Hunt, and then I played for one night for about 2 hours, and then it stayed on my computer for the last I don't know, maybe month and a half to 2 months, somewhere in there. I'm not clear, but I never played it. I thought it was a better show of strength to have it there, to have it available, to have it on the computer, but to choose to not play it until. But then eventually, yesterday morning, I thought to myself, I was like, hey, in the spirit of what we talked about, it's like that $100,000 isn't going to mean anything if you do it and it's on the computer. It's like, stick to the plan. So I uninstalled it again. And that was the thing itself that was holding me back from doing the after action report. I wanted the after action report to be for me to come on here, do a podcast segment, and then play Siege for until Sits my time. So it would be essentially a 2-hour show. But within the podcast segment and the pre Siege segment, it would be me recapping all the cool stuff that I've done and what I've added into the membership area, what masterclass I did, etc., etc., etc. This is literally the end of the day. This is the cool stuff that I've done for you, so you can balance health with the rest of the game of life, so you can level up your leadership and achievement and stay fulfilled at the same time, and create the game plan that works for you, and find other former athletes who know what you're going through to support you throughout this. Because like I said, it doesn't matter if it's a real sport. It doesn't matter if it's a fight. If it's fighting and it's like, calling it a sport is a stretch, but it does have rules, essential part of the game. I don't care if it's esports. I don't care if it's marching band, because I've been in marching band and I know how much of an athlete marching band students are. I'm a baseball player first. That was my first sport. And I can tell you that marching band was every bit as tough in its own way. So, With that being said, I'm a little bit scientist. I'm a little bit artist. I fluctuate between the two backgrounds, and I gotta tell you, it is a wild ride. But it is my intent here in the after action report that I'm gonna just come in here and talk it out with you guys. So I talked a little bit about anger and rage, and I wrote this down a little bit earlier. I said anger and rage are what happens when fear festers. So I alluded to that a little bit earlier in my story, but it's literally the thing that happens to you whenever you really are afraid, but you keep putting on the different masks, saying that you're not talking it out somewhere to somebody. Anger and rage. So it'll eat you up. It'll fuel you. It'll get you in motion, but it will eat you alive if you run off of it for any amount of time. And so I realized that I was doing everything that I wanted to do. It just wasn't getting me the results that I wanted, because it was like, hey, do what you want to do and you'll get the results. And so it's like, that's somewhat true. You have to be strategic about creating your game plan. And that's what I've been dedicated to, creating the game plan, the structure throughout the day that gives you the discipline and the freedom, especially if you're somebody who's a Jocko fan, Jocko Willink from Extreme Ownership. Rainbow Six is coming back, but I have a beard. That was part of the reminder, because I've been growing this beard since I got back from the gym boat. And it's a reminder that I'm on the hunt for that. And as soon as that's done, the beard goes away and Siege comes back. I'll probably grow the beard again, because I'll immediately go on the hunt for something else. But this one's getting rather long because I've been on the hunt for this. I've been giving it my best shot every single day, falling on my face some days, but getting back up, not falling on my face some days. It's actually resonating, and some days I'm out there hitting home runs and getting some knockouts. So we're on the way, and I'm not going to let my current inability to play Rainbow Six Siege keep me from coming here to you guys daily. Maybe not the entire 2 hours. I can for sure do this on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Thursday is going to be a stretch, because that is when my free web class is. I run a free web class every single week, and you have to be on my list to know how to get in there. Which this week's website web class is how to unleash your inner warrior and thrive at your ideal body weight in the next 100 days without operating on zombie autopilot or any of that other junk that's out there. AKA, I can't remember my headline right now, but it's something along the lines. I'm going to be telling a story of my 100-pound weight loss. I'm going to be telling a story about all the things that I tried to do to lose weight that didn't work at all, and it led to more problems. I'm going to talk about the identity crisis through that dark period of my life that I was telling you about, where I was angry and depressed all the time. And then I'm going to talk about how I started to take back control of my time and actually spend more time doing the things I wanted to do, less time doing the things that weren't well suited for me, and how I actually found what I changed, the simplest, smallest little hacks that made the most amazing difference in the world. So that's what I'm going to be covering on my free web class that's happening this week. You're going to have to get on the list to know how to get in there. So that being said, how do you get on the list, Marty? Well, I put something amazing for you guys. Like, I don't want to just ask you, it's like, sign up for my, like, let me have your email address so I can spam you. It's like, no. I wanted to give you guys something first. So, over the past 7 years since I've officially been an entrepreneur, since I decided that I was going to start playing the game of life my way, it's been 7 years. And along the way, I've come across some amazing things. And they saved me a lot of time or a lot of money or both. They helped me get out of pain, both mental and physical, along the way. They helped make things to where I could just take it easy a little bit and give some wiggle room to work on me, recover from some injuries. It's allowed me to grow my relationships deeper with not only my wife, but my teammates, the people that have been around me. It's been amazing tools from all over the place. There's some stuff in there for me, but most of it, by and large, is from other people, including Jim Edwards and ClickFunnels and a whole bunch of other amazing things that I would just rather you guys go in there and take a look at. So, I'm going to give you that life after sports survival toolkit is what I'm calling it. And all you got to do is go to gearedupinsider.com/toolkit. That will give you the access to the exclusive members area. Like, this is a membership site that I put together for you guys. It's going to give you access to that. And it's going to put you guys on the list. Now, there's one more amazing thing that I'm going to tell you about before I leave. And you're going to want to hold on to your hats for this one, because I'm going to tell you how you can get all of my courses, all of my membership, because the toolkit is one part of a bigger area called Insider Secrets. And that's all I can say about Insider Secrets right now. Anyway, so there's that. There's some master classes I put out: the Upgraded Energy Performance and Weight Loss Masterclass, the Re-Awaken Your Competitive Spirit Masterclass that's going on right now, and my other coaching courses, trainings, and an event. I'll throw an event and give it to you absolutely free, but you have to get on the list and find out exactly how to do that. But I can tell you this: it involves going on a Caribbean vacation and on a cruise with me and Jim. So that's all I can tell you guys right now. That's the after action report for today. I hope that it recorded, it live streamed. I have not been looking at questions, but I will go back and answer them as I see them. Thank you guys so much. This was amazing for me to do. I'm so glad I finally stopped being afraid to put this out there. So if I offended you in any way, good. I'll see you guys next time. You are one upgrade. Should I say that anymore? You're one upgrade away. Another story for another time. It is a belief that you need to have. But another time. I will see you guys later. Bye, everyone.